Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to Cilinix Crypto, your number one source on XRP updates. And welcome to this new video on XRP. We're going to do a full update on the current situation, what to expect from XRP and the relevant fundamentals, right? Because we actually had some relevant fundamentals or relevant fundamental developments, not only for XRP specifically, which we had as well, and we'll talk about that. But also for the markets, and we had some positive developments, which is great because yesterday, if you watch my XRP update as well, what we said is first of all that XRP was holding on relatively well compared to the markets, which I still think at this point of time. And then outside of that, you can also see that, or at least what we said yesterday as well, is that okay, it's better to expect a spike down. That's what I said, unless we get good news. All right, and we got that good news yesterday in the middle of the day market updates. I also tried to update you on that. Now, I know you cannot watch every single of my updates, right? So that's why I told you yesterday in the morning updates already. If we get some good news, such as this and that, which specifically that happened, then we can break out and reclaim, and that's what we did, right? You can see XRP right here with already some solid price action over the course of the morning right here. That was still relatively stable. But then towards the evening, we actually saw XRP breaking above the yearly rolling VWAP right here at 2.3. For Binance, that's a little bit lower. It's at 2.25, and 2.25 was also the main level that we spoke about, since that's the value area low, right? So that's the range low. Broke above that with volume. After two specific things happened. First of all, we got some good news for Ripple specifically. They got 40 billion. No, they got $500 million in funding with a $40 billion valuation. Now, this is a little bit double, of course, because some of you might say, well, it got that at a $40 billion valuation, but Ripple at this point of time is valued at $140 billion on the open markets. Why did they raise against such a low estimate? And that is, of course, because this, like the valuation that XRP has of $140 million, it's based on nothing, right? It's the crypto premium, right? A lot of crypto projects are valued at absolutely insane numbers still. So that's what's going on. But actually getting $500 million from some major parties, right? So I believe Fortress, Citadel Securities, yeah, you can see it right here. Pantera Capital, Galaxy Digital, like those are some major names in the securities and equities business, and to get $500 million from them, I think is great. All right, and that also means that they need to sell less XRP. It probably does mean that those companies do get a part of the Ripple business, and potentially also XRP tokens in the future. So that's not amazing, but ultimately this will allow Ripple to build up a bigger institutional business, what they have been doing already. So I think long term, even though they raised at a lower valuation, it's actually bullish. We're seeing, by the way, yesterday we also saw some positive developments in the liquidity situation for the United States, which was one of the other things which is pushing the markets down, and also with the markets obviously pushed XRP down as well. So we saw some positive news fundamentally for Ripple specifically. We saw some positive developments because the liquidity situation in the US is still not amazing, to be fair, but positive developments in there as well. Volatility index also declined. That's when we were able to reclaim the range. And I have to say, given the current situation, like unless we get some very bearish development, which I would doubt. I mean, the liquidity situation is not ideal, but it does seem to me that Bitcoin has formed a local bottom. Technically, at least, it's doing a phenomenal job so far. I think XRP has done a phenomenal job as well. So, you know, it's maybe a little bit early for me to say, okay, I think we're going to see a lot of momentum, and I think we're going to rally. Like you can see, we got the rejection at 2.4, 4 points, if only. But the rejection at 2.4, which is the point of control of the range, right? So that's a very liquid area. We got a very strong reaction there. So I would say it's more likely short term that we're still going to retest that level at 2.3. Down into the monthly point of control at 2.25, 2.23. But I do think we will be able to hold that. Like I said, unless we get some super bearish news, I think we'll be able to hold that. If we get bad news, we can spike down into 2.1 and 2.05, but I do think that level would hold as well. But for now, like I said, I don't expect that. I expect stability from here. It's a little bit early to say this, but eventually I also expect us to rally back into 2.47. and 2.53. But like I said, it's a little bit early to talk about that. But keep that's in general, you know, medium term what I would expect. But those are my thoughts. That's what I think you need to know. Thank you for watching, everybody. Take care and bye.